A little tall too, but no, I just have to turn the camera up. We get up your nostrils that way. Go ahead.
So my claim of fact tonight is technology is diminishing society in a social, economic, and educational manner, which is leading to a dependency on it. So first and foremost, I want to introduce it by saying phones have greatly evolved since the 1980s. We've seen phones that are this big to like this portable that have the capabilities of the internet and things of sort like that. As well, the internet has boomed off within the 1990s into the 2000s. As well, automation is also evolving and is being incorporated in every form of industry. The way I'm going to prove my claim today is through three forms. My first one is technology has taken over the aspects of our lifestyle. The second one, technology has taken over our jobs. And thirdly is technology has limited society to how much knowledge they can gain in education. So first and foremost, how does it affect our lifestyle? Well, I'm going to say with the evolutions of phones and the internet, it has caused for a limited amount of human interaction. Nowadays, we see that there's multiple dating websites, social networks, phones, and internet to be the main source to form relationships. Now, the way I'm going to prove this to you is through this claim that I have found in the New York articles that says, how does technology affect kids' friendships? And it's mentioned that in a Pew Research Center found that half of American teenagers, defined in the ages 12 through 17, sent 50 or more text messages a day, and that 1/3 or more than 100 a day. 2/3 of the texters surveyed by the Center's Internet and American Life Project said that they were more likely to use their cell phones to text their friends than to call them. This is demonstrating that kids or anybody is no longer interested to have some form of interaction with individuals, but in a sense, they'd rather just shoot a text to some individual and say, hey, well, how's it going? To where it used to be more of a formal thing where let's plan this thing out, let's go, and let's move forward with this. Another thing is that I've noticed too is the circulation of the newspapers. Recently we've seen a drop in newspapers, and it's noted that in the New York Times, that the newspaper circulation has fallen nearly 9%, and this is widely due to the internet as the form of a drop-off. This being important because our main source of information used to be a newspaper, but nowadays we just look to the television or we look to the internet. Therefore, it's making us dependent on technology, so therefore we can gather all our information that we need. Now, my second point that I'm going to say is how technology is taking over our jobs. Well, we actually sometimes see it as a form of benefit, but at the same time it's hindering us. Why do I say this? Well, nowadays we go into stores and we even go into restaurants where they have self-serve machines. You go to the Chop Chop Grill right here and you have your self-serve machine where you actually have a touch screen that tells you how to order your food. Second of all, you go into grocery stores and you do it all yourself now. You don't need a person there to actually tell you what to do. And in an article also in the New York Times, which is called Retail Jobs Are Disappearing as Shoppers Adjust to Self-Service. This is letting us know that automation machines are taking over. And what they say is vending machines now sell iPods, bathing suits, gold coin, sunglasses, and razors. Some will even dispense prescription drugs and medical marijuana to consumers willing to submit to a fingerprint scan, and shoppers are finding information on touchscreen kiosks rather than talking to attendants. Obviously, this is showing a problem because nowadays you don't even have to go to a doctor to say, hey, this is the actual drug that you need, this is how much you need, but it's just being dispensed at a machine. The second point that I want to say too is it's an apparent fact that automation, which is also mentioned in the New York Times, is a long force in agriculture and manufacturing. It is accelerating in the retail sector, a trend that could hamper efforts to bring down the nation's stubbornly high jobless rates as we see it affect the retail sector of business. Well, the reason I see this as a negative consequence to us is, as myself, I work in a grocery store, and if these self-serve machines start taking over the industry, then me as a college student that depend on this grocery store to pay for my education is soon eliminated by these machines, and I probably wouldn't have hopes to come to school. And that's the factor that I see automation taking over our jobs. My next point is how bank systems have databases. In a book called Digital Cultures, it was stated that, and they kind of stated out like this. Now imagine wiping out a disk or drive containing an account worth $38 billion. That's what happened to a computer technician reformatting the disk drive at the Alaska Department of Revenue. As we see, even digital information that we see that is probably helpful and beneficial to us can actually hinder us at the long run. So therefore, if you possess this account that had $38 billion, you literally just lost it, and they try to reformat it, and we're not able to get that information back. My third point, which is technology has limited society and how much knowledge it can gain in education, is, well, we see nowadays that in our programs, we have Microsoft Word, which actually helps us with spell check and our grammar, so therefore we're solely depending on it. So we lose the factors of foundations of how to spell words. Sometimes we just go into spell check and randomly choose a word, hoping that that's the word that we're looking into. Another factor is the calculator system. The calculator used to have its basic functions, which is arithmetic, which is basic, plus, minus, multiplication, and division. Nowadays you have calculators that actually perform calculus-based equations like integration and derivation. So therefore, if they're incorporated into the classroom, you're no longer learning calculus, but you're learning the system itself. Now, the point what I see with technology is that it affects us socially, economically, and in the educational form. And for therefore reason, it could be a great advance in our time now, but nowadays, technology is not really helping us, but actually hindering our society.
All right, the proposition, when you state it, has 3 dependent clauses in it, and you want to have a single proposition. Then you do have secondary points that are clearly labeled. They're not the same 3 things that you have in the proposition, so that's not even a preview of what the supporting points are going to be. So you need a simpler term to cover the social, economic, and educational aspects, and then just talk about those individual points as you get to each one of those claims. The internal signposting is very clear and easy to follow. I thought you had some interesting examples, but the citation on them is a little bit vague. This $38 billion mistake, for instance, I think we need to have a source on that. You need to have a direct quote to talk about this. The inference sounds like the state of Alaska lost $38 billion and they're not getting it back. I suspect if they know they lost $38 billion, they'd be finding it somewhere. So I'm not saying that what you said is not true. However, my instincts seem to resist that amazingly, and I would be a lot more convinced if you had, the data from the state of Alaska that says, "Damn, we're never going to get this $38 billion back. Thank you." And Sarah Palin's the source on that, or whoever it is that's the governor or the treasurer or whoever's responsible for that up there. That would be a lot more convincing. On the last claim, you make a bunch of inferences about our inability to spell or to do calculus, which they're mostly assertions on your part. The technology stuff is definitely true. There's no doubt that people use spell check and grammar check, or that they use the calculators. But what I don't see is any proof that people don't have the ability to do those kinds of things. That seems to be the inference. Well, if I'm using spell check, it must be because I can't spell. And I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case. I'm not sure that people spell any worse than they used to. Only, the difference is now they can fix their spelling errors, whereas in the past they ignored their spelling errors. The difference between typing something online and reading my notes, for instance, you'll find plenty of spelling errors here, because I could not spell restaurant to save my life. Okay. Thank you.